What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 9th episode of the Schmidt Talking Podcast. I'm Alec Walt. Before I introduce my partner over there, I just want to let you know we're dealing with some technical difficulties at our station, and we're going to be testing out this video segment for the first time. I'm alongside Kyle Allen. We're two members of the class of 2017 who are obsessed with Bonnie's basketball. Kyle, welcome to you.
What's going on, Alec? I'm obviously a little nervous with the video opportunity for us now, but I'm excited. I'm not very happy after the game on Saturday against Rhode Island. A tale of two halves that we're going to get into in a little bit, but overall, I think it just showed what type of team Rhode Island is, and that's a team that I think can make a deep run in March. I'm very serious about that in a sense because they did it last year. And it just showed what type of team this team can be without E.C. Matthews earlier in this year. And now, it just shows that what they are now with him fully back in the lineup.
Yeah, Rhode Island played phenomenal Friday morning or Saturday morning. They beat the Bonnies 87-73. And that dropped the Bonnies to 2-3 in the Atlantic 10. You talked about a tale of two halves. At the end of the first, the score was 42-39 Rhode Island. And then the Rhode Island just took over in the second half and outscored the Bonnies 45-34. Kyle, what the heck happened in the second half?
Defensively, I think we collapsed. I also think at the same time they stepped up their game defensively. Both teams were shooting in the high 60% in the first half when it comes to field goal percentage. So we were all kind of firing on all cylinders, and we needed to just to keep up with them. I mean, the score at half was, I think, 42-39. And if we came out flat like we did against the Dayton, that game was over by halftime. I just think, when it comes to a team like that, you're always going to have to match with them offensively, right? But at the same time, like we have seen the past few games defensively, when it comes to crunch time, we were kind of, just not getting the job done in that sense. I was just very excited about how we were defensively in the beginning of the year when it comes to our non-conference play. And once Jay came back, we were on a defensive tear over that 8-game winning streak we had with him when he came back after the ankle injury. So I still know that team's out there, and that team, is going to show up again this year. I just hope it shows up at the right time when it comes towards the end of the season and into March, because that's when we're going to need that defense the most.
Yeah, we're going to need our defense big time. This Friday, we have a huge game down in the Carolinas, a near must-win. Bonnies are on the road against Davidson, and this will be a big game for their resume because Davidson, KenPom has them at 89, so another win in the top 100 would be huge for this team. And you look at Davidson, they're a team that shoots a lot of three-pointers. Defenses could be the key to winning Friday night's game.
This is a Davidson team, that I think we match up well against. We had talked about before the show, the size matchup, right? This is a chance where I think our guards can match up well against them. I think just overall as a team, we match up well against them. I'm looking for us to be really aggressive in a sense where Jay was really aggressive going into the hoop last game against Rhode Island. Now, a lot of those hoops just didn't fall because, one, they're a really good, interior defensive team. Two, they just weren't falling. It was just kind of a game where he just couldn't buy a shot inside. I expect that to turn around, and I want him to keep up that intensity and aggressiveness in the inside game. I think this is a game where, he really just has the advantage over who's going to be going against him. But at the same time, this is a team that historically shoots the ball well, but likes to play in a half-court set, and they don't turn the ball over a lot. So this is a team that only averages, I think it was 9 turnovers a game, and they only let up 12. So I was very, surprised to see that. But at the same time, I'm just excited for the matchup on Friday.
Yeah, when you look at Davidson, they're first in the Atlantic 10 in assists per game at 17.8. So they like to move the ball. And they're, again, you said you were right with 9 turnovers per game. That's best in the conference.
Yeah.
They have the best assist-to-turnover ratio, and they're the best assist and best turnover team in the conference. And this is a team that likes to slow the game down. You said they like to play in the half court. Bonnies are an up-tempo team, and the way Davidson's built actually could lead the Bonnies to playing that up-tempo game. The Davidson's not a big team, and they're not a team that's going to scare you too much down low. So when we do play that small ball lineup with Badarian at the 5, we have all the pieces to match up against them. And if we have our other guys getting rebounds, say Adrees and Mobley, and we pick up the pace, try and get some steals, they don't turn the ball over very much. With our best lineup versus their best lineup, there's a lot of potential the Bonnies could really pick up the pace and get Davidson out of their groove. And really, that's what they're going to have to do to win this game.
Well, so when you talk about lineups, I think once, it gets deeper into the game, that's where it's going to be key. Their bench is, I think they're not as good as ours in a sense. Their top 3 guys average double digits, and then the next guy down averages 6.4 a game. That's a slight or significant drop off. We have a guy like Isaiah Brockington right now still coming off the bench. I mean, that's a guy, he's a proven, freshman player, and he looks like he could start on most teams in the Atlantic 10. And I think he could start on this team. Obviously Ken, he's shown that thus far in his ability, and I just am excited for his future. But that's a guy I expect to step up in this game because their bench is just, not as good as ours. And I think that is an opportunity where we need to attack. We got to get some bench points too. I want to see a lot more play from Amadi Ekpezi. Like I said, the match up inside is just favors us in that sense. So I would like to see a guy of his size get more playing time, right? Just to establish a low post presence and really just give them some, fear on the inside when it comes to that. And at the same time, that's where we can take over the rebounding margin as well.
And I definitely agree with you when it comes to Amadi Ekpezi. When you look at Davidson, they're not a very good rebounding team. They average 35.3 per game. That's 11th in the conference. They're not very scary down low. Also, one thing that's been a problem for our bigs is they've been really getting stuck into foul trouble recently, even some of our wings. This isn't a very over-aggressive offense. They're not going to drive the lane that much. They're not going to really be too aggressive down low getting boards. They don't shoot a lot of foul shots, which means teams aren't forcing a lot of fouls on them. They're last in the conference at that.
Mm-hmm. They average 76 points a game. I saw too. I wonder where that ranks. That can't be, near the top of the conference. That's for sure.
No,
I think
exactly. This could be a game where our bigs could actually get that big confidence booster because there's really not that much of a disadvantage, and it looks like there could be a game where they're not stuck in foul trouble.
So so you were talking about that, right? But I'm looking at also Kellen Grady and John Axel Gunmanson, I think I'm saying that correctly. Both are averaging around 38% from 3. But Peyton Aldridge, their best player, a guy who's in the running for the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, is only shooting 29% from 3 right now.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, surprisingly, right? But I still look at that as he's still a guy who's going to want to shoot a lot of threes, right? I think it's just more they're just not falling right now, and he's a volume shooter. So that's a guy who I want, we still got a key on, right? A guy like a Darian Griffin's got to step up on the perimeter when it comes to that.
Because Davidson's going to have the green light to shoot the basketball. They lead the conference shooting 463 three-point attempts this season, and the second best is Fordham with 426, so it's not even close. One thing the Bonnies do need to look out with Peyton Aldridge, he leads Davidson in rebounding, and he's really turned to an all-around player this season, and that's low-key one of the areas that he's really improved on this season. And if Badarian's on the perimeter, he's going to have to turn around and box him out from the perimeter to prevent him from going into the paint and grabbing offensive boards.
Yeah, and so, outside of him, they aren't, a very good rebounding team, I guess. So we should have probably said that when we were talking about having our chance to take over a rebounding advantage. So that's a guy, we're really going to have to key on, right? But, we've seen in the past they aren't really always a one-man team. Even though, Aldridge is the centerpiece, they're always going to have those two, spot-up shooters that we know what a spot-up shooter can do to us. We've seen it time and time again, not only this season but in the past, of spot-up shooters just killing us. I can go back to the first game of the season, Duke's on Niagara. He's been having a coming out party ever since. I think the nation's caught on to the type of three-point shooting he's capable of giving.
And one thing that's been killing us recently It has been spot-up shooting, but it's really been just opposing teams' pure scores, and Duke is the pure scorer on Niagara. In the 3 games we've lost so far in the Atlantic 10, we were at Dayton. Darrell Davis put up a career-high 28.7 rebounds. We were at St. Joe's. James Demery put up 24 points. And E.C. Matthews on Saturday put up 20 points and 9 rebounds. That makes me a little bit nervous knowing that we're going up against Peyton Aldridge, who – yes, he's been cold offensively recently, but that exact position is something that we've been unable to stop recently.
Yeah, and I also think too, you mentioned those numbers from the best players in those teams. It comes at a time where, even though, Matt Mobley did have a good scoring effort against Dayton, but a lot of those were, comeback points in the final seconds. But at the same time, our guys just our 2 best players, Matt Mobley and Jalen Adams, have both, had their struggles these past 3 games. So, I'm excited for, this opportunity for them at the guard position. And I would like to see what they can do against a team like this, where I think they have the advantage, I think, athletically and size overall. But I think also just at the guard position.
I don't want to even think about losing, but I have to bring this up. What happens if we lose Friday night?
You're going to have a very distraught fan base. No, but to put it lightly, well, that is to put it lightly. To put it seriously, from there on out, it's pretty much a near perfect season, and you're more so just looking at getting a first round bye at that point, because we're going to be sitting 2-4. I mean, and that's, I think 5 to 6 losses in the conference is. 6 is pushing it when it comes to a bye. 4 losses got you a tie for first 2 years ago. So, with a team like Duquesne coming out of nowhere and kind of, stunning people in a sense at this point, Bonnie's that can't afford to, let many more losses fall onto their results page, because, like you said, getting a bye in the Atlantic 10 is key, because that reduces the number of games you got to win, right? And so we want to be able to have our first game starting on Friday. So I'm looking at this opportunity as a chance for the Bonnies to get a quality road win.
Yeah, thinking about after this game, we host Rhode Island, we host Davidson again, and we are at VCU. If we already have 3 losses, and we also play at LaSalle. I mean, LaSalle's not a team I'm too nervous about, but that's a place we really don't play well. So, I think 3 losses or 4 losses in the first 6 games would be crucial. Let's go to that game right now. Kyle, what is your score prediction for Friday night?
So I think it's going to be a more high-scoring game. So I'm going to go with the Bonnies coming out on top, 84-77.
I agree with you with the offensive part. I expect an offensive explosion. I'm going into the 90s. I think the Bonnies are going to win. I think they've had enough wake-up calls. They really figured out where they stood after the game against URI. But, they have 6 days off to prepare for this game. 6 days to tighten up their defense. 6 days to focus on the perimeter. 6 days to regroup. 6 days to rest. This bye week couldn't be coming at a better time, which is why both teams are going to be well rested. Davidson also does have a bye. They haven't played since Saturday. I think with all those days off, this is going to be a huge next couple days. I'm going to go Bonnies 95, Davidson 91, and hopefully that gets some momentum on our side as we go into the remaining games in the Atlantic 10. That's going to be it for this episode of the Schmidt Talking Podcast. I'm Alec Walt alongside Kyle Allen. Tune in next week as we give a full recap on Davidson. We're talking about what the Bonnies need to do next this season. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.